Good day, Doctor and every classmate. Here is the presentation of Team G. Our team is about the topic named Another Research Design. My name is Han Yupei, the leader of Team G. I would guide you to know the abstract of another research design. Good day, Doctor, and when we are talking about another research design, here are some questions we need to know and answer. Firstly, what is another research design? Another research design is 1. A research design for answering research questions that cannot be answered by qualitative and quantitative methods. 2. Solving problems with many research methods and different types of data. 3. A research design in which data is often collected and analyzed from multiple perspectives in a single study. Then, we need to answer a question. Why do we need another research design? Because another research design could 1. Be better applied to specific topics so as to describe, evaluate, and implement the original plan. 2. Strengthen explanation of research problems and reduce the possibility of internal structure errors, such as data collection. 3. Use sources and results of different methods, swells to elaborate the same research topic and enhance its credibility. 4. Elevate or resolve inconsistencies or contradictions in the comparative survey results or sources. Next question is that, what is importance of another research design? Another research design is important because 1. It can carry out the project smoothly with the help of appropriate research methods to improve its accuracy and reliability. 2. It can collect more useful information and data with less time and energy. 3. It can resolve the internal contradictions in qualitative and quantitative research from multiple angles and lead it to relative consistent research results or directions. 4. It can improve the credibility and effectiveness of research results with the help of various information and data collection, such as data analysis of different time stages or multiple researchers. How to deal with another research design? When dealing with another research design, we should 1. Analyze the specific problems and determine the appropriate investigation methods according to the research purpose. 2. Determine the specific nature of the study based on the problems to be solved. 3. Consider the angle, type, and the mode of data to be obtained from the existing resources mastered by the researcher. 4. Consider the scope and the depth of research design from the researcher's disposable time and personal ability. how to make sure it is a good another research design. A good another research design should 1. Be efficient, flexible, moderate, and economical. 2. Has high reliability of data or structure and less deviation of data or logic. 3. Be applicable to most general research fields and to specific experiments and investigations. Finally, we need to know and answer how many different types of another research design. Another research design includes these types. 1. Mixed method. 2. Action research. 3. Developmental research. 4. Policy research.
So, what is mixed method research? It simply refers to answering research questions through a combination of qualitative and quantitative data. This might mean running both interviews and surveys as a part of a research project, or complementing direct study data with analytics, looking at the usage of practice filters. The research will use this approach because of the following reasons. 1. It can answer a broader and more complete range of research questions. 2. Integrating qualitative and quantitative approaches can overcome the weakness and utilize the strength of each approach. 3. Applying the mixed methods approaches can improve insight into and understanding of the data, which might be missed when using a single approach. 4. Integrating quantitative and qualitative data can provide stronger evidence for conclusion. 5. Translating the data from different methods increase the validity of the result and the conclusion. The mixed method research isn't a technical or methodology. It is more a practice that you should develop to gain a more holistic understanding of the topic you are investigating. What's more, using both types of methods will often mean you are able to validate the output of one method by using another. And using both qualitative and quantitative methods to answer a single research question will mean you are able to build a more complete understanding of the topic you are investigating. Quantitative data will tell you what is happening and help you understand magnitude, while qualitative data can tell you why something is happening. Each type of data has its shortcoming, and by using a mixed methods approaches, you are able to generate a clearer overall picture. There are 3 ways of the mixed method researching. The first one is convergence parallel design. In this way, quantitative research and qualitative research are used to analyze the same problems in parallel, and the results of the tools are compared to provide the credibility of research result. And the second one is the exploratory sequential design. In this way, by analyzing the data, quantitative research results are obtained, and then qualitative analysis is used to supplement the quantitative research results. And the third one is explanatory sequential design. First, there is an unknown research object. After completing the qualitative research, the quantitative research is used to supplement the result of the qualitative research. And this is a mixed method researching example. Let's imagine that we are researching a subject. How does people's usages of online banking differ between the desktop and the app? The values of quantitative methods is the teams can view the usage analysis, such as how many people use the desktop whilst the mobile app, and look at feeders usage statistic. And the values of qualitative method is interviews which users can answer all manners of questions. For example, the research teams might want to find out how customers make their ways through the certain part of the interface. Usability testing is an opportunity to watch users as they attempt various tasks. For example, making a transaction.
Action research is a philosophy and methodology of research, generally applied in a social sense. It seeks transformative change through the simultaneous process of taking action and doing research, which are linked together by critical reflection. Action research is an interactive inquiry process that balances problem-solving action implemented in a collaborative contact with data-driven collaborative analysis, or research to understand underlying causes, enable future prediction about personal and organization change. Action research can be divided as the process of studying a real school or classroom situation to understand and improve the quality of action or instruction. It is a systematic and orderly way for teachers to observe their practice or to explore a problem and possible cause of action. Action research is also a type of inquiry that is pre-planned, is organized, and can be shared with others. Now let's look at the picture. An action research cycle. Action research is a circular process. We can say plan, action, observation, reflection on the picture. And the four parts are interrelated and interdependent. Now we will talk about the purpose of action research. 1. Contributes to theory and knowledge based to enhance practice. 2. Supports the professional development of practitioners. 3. Builds a collegiate networking system. 4. Helps the practitioners identify problems and seek solutions systematically. 5. Can be used at level and in all areas of education. On this page, I will explain types of action research. Number 1. Participatory action research. This action research emphasizes multiple people or groups with an interest in research topic and they work together to conduct a research project. Involvement of research participants in research project is very important. Number 2, critical action research. Critical action research developed by Paulo Provo, who wanted to use education to free the disadvantaged population. For example, feminist action research, reviewing world through feminine lens, empowerment of people with less power in society, and links to political implications. It focuses on reducing inequality and or discrimination. 3. Action science. In action science, we are using this learning organization and learning organization theory to invoke continued learning. So, a learning organization is an organization or a group of people, such as researchers, practitioners, that are continuously trying to change from what they were learning. You could have single loop learning or double loop learning. Well, in single loop learning, this is primarily you are taking a small problem and you are trying to solve it. A lot of time, this action science begins with single loop learning, solving a small problem, and then if you are applying what you found from that small problem to a large system, this is double loop learning. So, double loop learning is taking what you've learned from this smaller problem and applying it to a large system. It also emphasizes the development of learning organization. People work together to grow together over time. Number 4, appreciative inquiry. Appreciative inquiry focuses on working together to construct and achieve a shared purpose, vision, or goal. So, it's people working together to be able to achieve a purpose, vision, or goal, and they all work together within this research. You can identify appreciative inquiry by 4 phases. That is, discovery, dream, design, and destiny. Number 5, individual action research. Number 6, collaborative action research. Number 7, system-wide action research. So these types of action research are based on who is designing and writing a research question, and the scope of research, how big or small it is. So individual action research is just one individual designing research and writing research question. And you should say that within a research question, so it should be clean. If one teacher that is working alone to conduct this action research, this scope really has to be pretty small for one individual to be able to handle. You could also have collaborative action research. Well, it's a team of researchers or a team of practitioners, like his team of teachers, that are designing research and writing research questions. This can have a little bit of larger scope. So it's a medium-sized scope and action research, because now you have a bigger team that's working together. Lastly, you could have system-wide action research. System-wide action research, it has research design and research questions that are trying to change a large system, like all school or all school district. and everybody within that large system or portion of people within that large system are working together to conduct this action research. This has the largest scope. This is a very large scope, and you have lots of people that are participating in it and working together. For all three of these types of action research, you should be able to identify if it's individual, collaborative, or system-wide from the research question, as well as the scope of research design. The action research process involves 5 essential steps or paths. First, ask a question, identify a problem, or define an area of exploration. Determine what it is you want to study. Second, decide what data should be collected, how they should be collected, and how often. Third, collect and analyze data. Fourth, describe how your findings should be used and applied. You create your plan for action based on your findings. And finally, report or share your findings and plan for action with others. Action research is a recursive process that does not always persist in linear fashion. You may find yourself repeating some of these steps several times or doing them in different order. We can take a look at this picture below. Previous page, I described 5 essential parts of action research. This page, these 5 parts are broken down further into 10 steps. The steps are meant to be a guideline to be adapted to your particular research topic or situation. 1. Identify a problem or research topic. The first step is to decide what to study. What are you curious about? Ask a question, identify a problem, or define an area of interest for exploration. Find something that intrigues you, something you would really like to examine in depth. 2. Set the problem or research topic in a theoretical context. This means doing a review of literature. Look in professional journal books and web resources to see what others have found out or have to say about your research topic. Relating your research topic or current series gives you more credibility and provided a theoretical context for your findings. It also enables you to link theory and practice by connecting what you found in the literature to what is happening in your classroom. 3. Make a plan for data collection. In traditional research, this is known as methodology. What data are you going to study? How are you going to collect data? How often will you collect data? Action research is not impressionistic or is supporting a particular teaching methodology. Rather, action research is a systematic observation. Therefore, data collection must be focused, and elements of data collection must be determined and described before the research begins. 4. Begin to collect and analyze data after you have identified at least 2 kinds of data. You begin the data collection process. As you collect your data, analyze them by looking for themes, categories, or patterns that emerge. This analysis will influence further data collection by helping you know what to look for. 5. If necessary, allow the question or problem to change as you collect data. Action research is a dynamic, ever-changing process. As human, you can't help but be influenced by data you collected. It is common, therefore, to change particular teaching strategies, the source of data, or even the focus of study as you are collecting data. This is accessible as long as you let the reader know what you did and why you did it when you are writing your report. That is, your action research report, article, or master thesis should take the reader along with you in all phases of your action research. 6. Analysis and organize data. Hopefully, you have been analyzing and organizing the data as you have been collecting them. Thus, this should be the final step of an ongoing process. In analyzing your data, you need to establish how many total things were recorded, how many categories or kinds of things there are, and how many things are in each category. This is a quick view of analytic induction. 7. Report the data. Present the facts or findings. This presentation includes an overview with detailed descriptions and illustrative sample of important events, actions, and response. Although reported are the number of type of symptom, categories, or pattern present in data. In this section of your report, you take the role of journalist of anthropologist by describing what you saw and presenting example that demonstrate your perception. 8. Make your conclusions and recommendations. The next step is to interpret the data or tell the reader what they mean based on the data. What can you conclude? What do you recommend based on your conclusions? You then ask your research question, provide answer for a problem, or make suggestions based on your new understanding. 9. Create a plan of action. This is when you put an action in action research based on your conclusions and recommendation. What will you do? You create a plan of action, and as you implement your plan of action, you assess what is happening or how effective it is. Thus, the action research cycle continues. 10. Put your plan into action and evaluating. Does it work? What needs to be changed or tweaked? Few plan work perfectly. Evaluating your plan could become the basis of another action research project, and thus the cycle of action research life continues.
Next, let me tell you my understanding of developmental research. What is development research? Development research, a long-term follow-up of individual bottom groups. This survey explores the relationship between the change of some variables and growth, including cross-sectional study, longitudinal study, and cohort study. For example, infant development research, cognitive development research, research on moral development. Why developmental research? It provides the research method of individual differences in the development process of individual physiological and psychological characteristics. It is used to study the trend of educational or social phenomena so as to predict the occurrence of future possibilities and serve as the basis for formulating plans. research scope, motor development, language development, intellectual development, social development, emotional development, physiological development, and other quality development. Main purpose of development research method: to explore the growth rate, pattern, direction, and order of human behavior, to explore the factors affecting the growth of human behavior and understand the relationship between these factors, explore the past development trend of some phenomena in order to predict the possible development trend in the future and serve as the basis for formulating plans in the future. There are two main types of development research methods. The first research method is growth research method. The second research method is trend research method. Next, let's take a detailed look at these two research methods. The first research method is growth research method. Take the same discipline as the research object and continuously observe its development at different ages or stages of development. The advantages of growth research methods are: it can truly reflect the differences of individuals in the process of development. Long-term continuous observation of the same subject. The disadvantage of growth research method is that it is time-consuming, expensive, and difficult to implement. The second research method is trend research. This paper discusses the past trend and current situation of this phenomenon, so as to predict the future development trend. This research method has three main purposes. First, help educators understand the current situation of any educational problems. For example, about the proportion of current college students' employment rate. Understand the demand of current college students' employment market. Second, help predict the future. For example, the number of floating teachers is increasing year by year, which is a reference for the change of teacher training plan in the future. Third, provide preventive and remedial measures. For example, if it is found that the constructive mathematics plan is inconsistent with the predetermined objectives after several years of implementation, it can be changed appropriately according to this study. The above is all about developmental research. Thank you.
In this part, I'll talk about policy research. Now let's look at the first question. What is policy research? Policy research is specifically directed at providing policymakers with the options and information they need to solve the problems we face today. It is defined as a process of conducting research on or analysis of a fundamental social problem in order to provide policymakers with pragmatic, action-oriented recommendations for alleviating the problem. Stated in a different way, a policy research effort begins with a social problem, such as malnutrition, poverty, or inflation, evolves through a research process whereby alternative policy actions for alleviating the problem are developed, and communicates these alternatives to the policymakers. In sum, policy research efforts study fundamental social problems in an attempt to create pragmatic courses of action for ameliorating those problems. The objective of policy research is to provide policymakers with several different options to help alleviate the social problem. Second question, what are the types of policy research? Policy research efforts vary in whether they have founders who are also study users, the extent to which they focus on problem definition, the organizational context in which they are conducted, and the disciplinary backgrounds of the researchers. First, policy research varies as to whether the funding source is or is not the study user. Policy research may be funded by any number of different sources, such as a government agency, interest group, or constituency, or a private charity foundation. Second, policy research varies as to whether the focus is on problem definition or solution. Not all social problems are defined either precisely or appropriately enough to permit a search for causes and solutions. For those ill-defined problems, the policy research study may need to focus primarily on problem definition rather than problem resolution. Third, policy research varies as to the organizational setting. The organizations may be located within the funding source, and the organization conducting the research may also be external to the funding source. Fourth, policy research varies as to the academic discipline of the researcher. Policy researchers hail from a variety of disciplines, including psychology, sociology, law, political science, anthropology, economics, and public administration. In doing policy research, researchers should recognize that their disciplinary backgrounds to some extent will influence the variables considered and the models advanced. Third question, what are the characteristics of policy research? Although policy research efforts may vary in a number of ways, there are certain characteristics of the policy research process that differentiate from other types of research efforts. These characteristics are that policy research is multidimensional in focus. Public policies typically attempt to resolve complex social problems that are composed of a number of dimensions, factors, effects, and causes. Second, it uses an empirical inductive approach. Policy research begins with a social problem and attempts empirically to induce concepts and causal theories as the study of the social problem progresses. Third, policy research focuses on malleable variables. Malleable variables are those aspects of social problems that are easily affected and intervened. Fourth, policy research is responsive to study users. Fifth, it explicitly incorporates values. Policy research is a value-laden process. The value of the study users will enter into the processes of defining the social problem, formulating research questions, developing recommendations from the findings, and disseminating the results to the select audiences. Last question. What are the procedures to develop policy research? The policy research process consists of 5 major activities. First step, preparing for policy research study. In this step, you should get the preparatory information about the social problem and socio-political environment. Preparatory activities consist primarily of gathering information on such issues as the current and past policy-making context of the selected social problem, the types of study recommendations that would be feasible given the existing socio-political environment, and the resources needed to conduct a useful study on the social problem. It is also during these preparatory activities that the researcher gathers enough information to decide if a policy research study should be undertaken at this point. Second step, conceptualizing the policy research study. In this step, you should conceptualize the social problem and research questions. Conceptualizing a policy research study involves the three following activities: developing a preliminary model of the social problem, formulating specific research questions, and selecting research investigators. Third step, technical analysis. In this step, you should design and implement the analytic approach. Technical analysis refers to the examination of factors that may cause the social problem. It is the stage in the policy research process involving activities that are the most similar to those of the traditional research process. At this stage, there are four major activities: operationalization of variables, design of study methodology, conduct of analysis, and development of conclusion and tentative recommendations. As a result of this analysis, conclusions about causal factors are reached. From these conclusions, recommendations for lessening the impact of those factors on the social problem can then be tentatively advanced. Fourth step, analysis of study recommendations. In this step, you should analyze the recommendations for their feasibility and modify it if necessary. In developing study recommendations, a basic rule of policy research must be considered. Unless the sociological, political, and organizational contexts are explicitly taken into account in developing policy recommendations, the recommendations probably will not be sufficiently implemented to achieve the desired results. At this stage, there are four major activities. Analyze the stakeholders and organizational parameters involved in the implementation of each recommendation. Predict the potential consequences of the recommendations. Estimate the probability that recommendations will be adequately implemented. Prepare final recommendations. Fifth step, communicating policy research to policymakers. In this step, you should appropriately communicate the study results to policymakers. Without an adequate communicative relationship between the researcher and policymakers, it will be exceedingly difficult for the researcher to ensure that research findings and recommendations are implemented. In fact, without open, active, and constructive communication between the policy researcher and policymakers, the policy research efforts will have little value. There are four guidelines of communication: to communicate throughout the study, to communicate to different study users. Effective presentation creates the basis for good communication, and oral communication is generally more effective than written. By following these four guidelines, the potential benefits associated with good communicative relationships may be achieved.
Conclusions. When we write a paper, we can close to use a variety of research methods. The existence of each research method has its inevitably we can choose according to the needs. Some of them are good for quantitative analysis. Some of them are good for qualitative analysis, and some of them require a variety of approaches. Each research method has its own advantages. Mixed method. Also, mixed method research appeared in the 1960s. It has not received enough attention and discussion until the last 2 years. The philosophical basis of mixed method research is programmatism. The advantages of the mixed method research methods are as follows. No longer constrained by a single approach. Researchers can answer a wider range of more complex research questions. Researchers can use quantitative analysis to make up for the deficiency of quantitative analysis, or the qualitative analysis to make up for the deficiency of quantitative analysis. Mixed method. The advantages of quantitative analysis and the quantitative analysis can be used at the same time. Action research. The advantages of action research are as follows. 1. Adaptability and feasibility. 2. Continuity of evaluation and timeliness of feedback. 3. Strong practicality. Policy research. Policy research is a highly intelligent work which provides intellectual support for the scientific decision-making of government or political party leaders. It's an important part of modern decision-making constitution. Policy research has several advantages. 1. Service principle. 2. The principle of practice. 3. Principle of the diversity. Developmental research. Development studies have the following advantages. 1. Development research takes a long time. 2. It also has the nature of investigation. 3. It also has the nature of experimental research method. 4. It can truly reflect the individual difference phenomenon in the developmental process. Long-term continuous observation was performed on the same subjects